Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive, and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con Ace. Drop in on the chat in tune where you are tuning in from today and use the comment section to network, to engage, and to really connect with one another. My name is Patricia Mota, and I serve as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the community of talent, providing the insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. A few key announcements for those of you who are seeking support, whether you are looking for your next career opportunity, you're looking to network. We've got three key opportunities on the horizon this month. One is our virtual career fair that's taking place today, October 9th. So there's still time to participate and to engage with the employers. So please be sure to check that out. Secondly, is our inclusion series, Latinas in the Workplace, that's taking place on Tuesday, October 29th. And lastly, Coaching Corner. So this is something that's offered throughout the year, but our next one for this month is taking place on Thursday, October 17th. So please check that out. Leverage these opportunities to engage with ASA and to get support or connections that you are seeking to for your own career. And so please join me in welcoming our special guest this morning, who is Noel Guevara. She is the manager of community partnership and programs at the Diamondbacks. Good morning, Noel. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you and engage in this conversation, get to know who you are, and engage with our audience this morning. But first thing is first is how do you like your cafecito prepared or your morning beverage of choice?
Yeah, I think it depends on the time of year here in Arizona. I think the go-to is an iced coffee for me. But at work, it's just a typical drip, K-Pod Starbucks break room coffee for me.
Yeah, you've been getting some I think record-breaking 100-degree weather over there, so I get it in terms of it does evolve in terms of the time of year. Um, uh, so Noel, tell us, one of the things that I love about Cafecito is being able to share you folks in terms of their stories and their backgrounds and how they got to the roles that they're in. And so before we jump in, I do want to ask our audience, we want to hear from you as well. So please drop in the chat your cafecito, what you're sipping on this morning or now. And Noel, well, everyone does that. Tell us about your culture and your professional background. How did you get to your role today at the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, so I grew up biracial in a biracial home. I grew up actually born and raised in California. Grew up in Orange and lived in Anaheim, 2 blocks away from Disneyland. So in California, I remember a lot of great things of what it was like living in Southern California. El Paletero and the Elote Man and a lot of the celebrations that we had around family get-togethers with music and food and I remember my birthday parties. It was just a huge party with piñata and we would play soccer and it was just a good time. And then I moved over to Chandler, Arizona when I was about 8 years old, which that was a struggle for me moving into traditional American suburbs. I actually felt like there was a little bit of a loss of, my identity in middle school and high school. And thankfully, because of soccer and playing soccer at the youth level, I actually got an opportunity to play and join the U15 and U20 Mexican national team and do some stints in Mexico, which was an incredible experience. And it gave me almost a reconnection and a deepening of my culture, getting that experience. And then I went and played. I achieved my goal of playing D1 soccer by playing up at Northern Arizona University. Competing up there was a great experience for me. I felt like I could only identify as a soccer player during that time. So a lot of my Mexican and cultural roots were kind of pushed aside for a little bit. But then when I started working for the Arizona Diamondbacks, where a huge market of our fan base is Hispanic Latinos, I felt I could fully be myself working
Mhm.
for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I loved every minute of it. Having our Hispanic Heritage Month, we have Hispanic Heritage Games, and now we've gotten to the point where we have our Mexican Heritage Day, and then an entire dedicated weekend for our Hispanic Heritage Weekend, celebrating the Dominican culture, the Puerto Rican culture. It's just a really fun and great place to work, to have that intersectionality. And what I do for the Diamondbacks is I serve the community and do events and programs, and it's a really cool full circle moment to be able to grow up here, go up to school, and go somewhere 2 hours away, and then come back and find my way into the community work and serving the community that I grew up in. So it's been a blessing for me.
What a powerful story, and thank you so much for sharing. I think I can relate. Noel, I think some of us may have I have shared before is I went from high school. I spent a year in Gilbert, Arizona, from predominantly Mexican Black neighborhood to just a different culture shock. And so those of you that are familiar with that area, right? But I think what you shared as well is in being able to connect with your Latinidad, right? And bringing that to who you are today and the work that you are leading. So many of us, right, and depending on our own personal experiences and generation, are a little more comfortable connecting with our if we identify as Latino, Latine, Latinx, right? And others perhaps are not or are starting to, right? But what advice would you give, whether it's your younger self or someone who perhaps has been in their career and hasn't really shared or connected with that part of themselves to bring it to work, to bring their Latinidad and really embrace that part of their identity?
Yeah, I think I struggled with that for a lot of my life, being
Mm,
biracial, right? Like,
mhm,
I felt like I was one or the other, or I
mm,
was, in spaces where it was safe to be one, but, I was viewed as differently if I leaned more into the Mexican side because of the way that I looked and my appearance. And, I think when I was playing soccer, I had that Mexican glow. I was very tan. I presented Mexican. And as I got older and started working in the office, a lot of my Caucasian came out. And so now when people see me and look at me, they don't automatically identify, me as a biracial woman, but it definitely has influenced my personality, who I am at work. And I would definitely advise, my younger self to lean more into that. It took me many years to
mm,
realize that intersectionality is a thing, and that I can be multiple things, right? Like I didn't have to just identify as the soccer player, or I didn't have to just identify as being gay or being
mhm,
biracial. And it I definitely think it took some mentors and some crucial conversations for me to lean into that. But what I found is if you work for a place who really embraces that and embraces diversity, I'm very lucky that the Arizona Diamondbacks have what we call our team player resource groups. So when we work for the Arizona Diamondbacks, we're not called employees, we're called team players because our president, CEO, Derek Hall, fully believes that we're a part of the team. And it's not just, the team players that are playing on the field,
mhm,
but so we have team player resource groups. And I'm a part of, Los D-backs Unidos. I'm a part of D-backs Women. I'm a part of, I lead the LGBTQ. So there's a lot of things that make up who I am. And I would definitely tell my younger self what you think is different or makes you different is actually your superpower. And
mhm,
I learned that from that mentor who said, Noel, you don't have to just be that. You can share your experiences and share what your upbringing was and the stories that you had growing up as a biracial woman and, living in a predominantly Mexican environment growing up. I would remind myself to celebrate it through,
Yeah.
in the home, with food and, music and traditions. And one of the things that I definitely regret was losing the Spanish
Mm.
language. It was my first language because of the environment I was in. And once I got to Arizona, and it's no fault, to my mom, but she grew up in Middle America and is a white woman, so she didn't pick up Spanish as easy as it wasn't easy for her. So
Yeah.
I definitely continued it in school, and I wish now that it was something that I feel like I can pick it up again when I go into Mexico, when I go on vacations and I spend
Mm.
long stints. But I definitely wish that I would have continued with that. And I know that these seem very small to lean into, celebrating with food and music, but I feel like this creates meaningful impact. It creates conversation. It enhances your relationships with your coworkers
Yeah.
and your community. So I definitely think those small things are things that you can implement daily. And I think it's something that me and my wife try to do at
That's
home.
that's awesome.
Supporting local and bringing it home.
Yeah, so many ways we can celebrate, and not just, as I always say at ASES, we don't, this is not just a Hispanic or Latino Heritage Month thing for us. It's a year-round thing, right? Ensuring that we are creating awareness and celebrating and recognizing culture in the many ways that we can. And the other piece that you shared that is um, part of your own personal story that I think is many others is the intersectional identities that we each carry, right? That becomes our own superpower. And I love that you said that because it's how do we lean in and leverage that intersectional identities that we have to better connect with one another, right? And the world and the future is becoming increasingly intersectional. And being able to embrace that, especially across communities and in the Latino community, right? We have various countries of origin. Some of us are either new to the country or first, or second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation in the United States. Not all of us speak Spanish, maybe Spanglish, or depending on our own personal experiences, like you shared, Noel. And I think it's an imperative that we embrace all of it, right? And welcome what is Latinidad and the diversity that Latinidad is for our community. And so, those of you tuning in, if you feel comfortable sharing, what are the parts of your identity that you're proud of that you lead in? We talked about our heritage. We talk about our preferences, but also it's so much more. Whether you are a mother, grandparents, an aunt, right? There's a many roles and parts of our identities that we are very proud of. Noel, I want to lean in on the part that you talked about being part of the LGBTQ plus community, being a source of pride for yourself, but also what you lead with at the Major League Baseball, at the Diamondbacks. In honor of National Coming Out Day, which is coming up on October 11th, you have implemented many years ago was a Pride Night in 2017 and continue to do that. Can you share a memorable experience about or more information about that in terms of that experience has been for you and at the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I definitely think my journey has been influenced with, my intersectionality, but specifically my coming out was,
Hmm.
crucial for my growth and for me to fully embrace who I am. And I have two key moments that all kind of encompass my coming out. The first was my family and coming out to my family. And when I decided to do that, it was a blend of excitement. I knew by coming out that I would finally feel like a weight was lifted off my chest. And I also felt, very scared and nervous and
Hmm.
understanding the cultural background and whether or not I would be accepted. And I leaned in to my soccer community, which that was my first experience around the LGBT community with some of
Mhm.
my teammates. And so when I embraced that in my safe bubble in college, kind of away from my family, I felt comfort in knowing that I could be who I was. And I definitely think that's, what I would share to anyone in the coming out journey is to start small and find people that you feel comfortable with, opening up and coming out to. And in my case, the pivotal moment was coming out to my soccer coach, who he kind of saw this burden that I was carrying for a couple
Mhm.
years, and right before my senior year, he created this safe space and allowed me to share that. And he was kind of like an extended, dad, if you will. He was also part of the Latino community, and in a way, I was like, okay, this is like a test before I come out. And once I did with my family, I was definitely embraced, with open arms with my family. But I think there was a lot of pressure, from my dad's side, from the machismo
Mhm.
side, the religion based.
Mhm.
So it wasn't necessarily about the cultural background, but more so religion. And a pivotal moment, I think, for me was after, planning the first ever Pride Night with the D-backs. I think for so long, and as a parent, they worried about my journey. Would I feel safe and would I be accepted? And they, kind of grieved what my life would look like as, in a heterosexual relationship. But after doing that Pride Night, I started receiving awards from the local Phoenix community, and
Mhm.
being able to invite my family to an award ceremony where I saw my dad front and center with, his camera,
Love
in
that.
front of, drag performers and drag performances. And seeing that was like that full circle moment where it really resonated that they had embraced me and accepted me. And I just felt a huge sense of pride to see my parents engaging with the performers in that way and celebrating my success. But it just kind of hit me in that moment when, all the work that I had done, I finally got that validation from my family.
Oh, I just got the chills. No, thank you for sharing that story, and you also just in your story made me think of the importance of community and safe spaces to be able to lean in into those to share your stories and who you are and leveraging those as to empower you to then go out and whether it's your family or your workplace and be who you are and be authentically who you are. And I know we've got some comments in the chat. If there's any questions, I know we're getting ready. This is not enough time. I know there never is, but we're giving you a little bit of time to get to know Noel, and we're encouraging you to connect with Noel on LinkedIn. I know that we shared that on the chat as well. But you have some folks sharing, talking about Jorge talks about his accent and embracing that. You have Edgar who's talking about be authentic, be you, be proud. Each of you has a superpower to share, and we truly believe that. And then when you shine authentically who you are, other folks see that, and you sometimes that turns into awards and recognition, right? Like Noel, right? Like you talked about that. And that turns into opportunities as well, whether it be in your workplace and other spaces as well. So thank you so much, Noel. I think we're uh, getting ready to wrap up here. Unfortunately, not enough time. But anything you want to wrap up with in terms of a story? I know you've shared story or anything that you're most hopeful for.
Yeah, no, I think with my journey, just I have learned by being vulnerable and being honest, it
Mm,
really has allowed me to have crucial conversations with people of all different backgrounds, and sometimes those conversations aren't the easiest, but sometimes, with time, it's you may not change their mind, but you may receive some respect and mutual commonality. And my identity, I definitely believe now after this long journey that it's something to be celebrated. And I
mm,
really appreciate, all aspects of my intersectionality. And within our communities, I know hopefully if I can touch one person who has that same, journey or has overcome that adversity within intersectionality, that's all I can ask for. And that's what I love about the work that I do now is, I can go into aspects of the community and be who I am, and hopefully that resonates.
Absolutely. I'm sure it does. I'm sure, you sharing your story definitely has resonated and impacted others here today. And we thank you so much for being vulnerable, for sharing your own personal story. And also, I'm seeing just some positive comments here. Continue to engage here in the chat. This video will remain here. So share it with those in your networks as well. And please join me in thanking Noel for sharing your time, your insights, and your story with us today. Y todos, hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone, take care. Bye.